Om Shri Sairam. We start today's session with three Omkars. Om. Om.
Om Shri Sairam, offering our most humble and reverential pranams at the divine lotus feet of our most beloved Bhagwan. Respected elders and my dear brothers and sisters, welcome to you all on this auspicious occasion of Ganesh Chaturthi special Sai sessions. Today, we are blessed to have amongst us Dr. Jagdish Chandra S. Dr. Jagdish Chandra, lovingly called as Brother Jagdish, hails from the state of Chhattisgarh, Raipur, and currently resides in Singapore. He joined Bhagwan's University in the year 2000 and was blessed with an opportunity to study for an entire decade as a student. During this blessed decade, Brother Jagdish completed his Bachelor of Science honors in physics in 2003, followed by Masters in Science in Physics in 2005, Masters in Philosophy in Biophotonics in 2007, and eventually gained the doctorate in Philosophy in Nonlinear Optics in 2010. Thereafter, Swami blessed him with an opportunity to teach in his college as a professor in Department of Physics at Prashanti Nilayam. Brother Jagdish was handpicked by Bhagwan to be part of Bhagwan's entourage on several trips, namely Chennai 2007, Kodaikanal 2007, Delhi and Shimla 2010. He was chosen by Bhagwan to give various talks in the divine presence on n number of occasions, including the Veda Purusha Sapta Jnana Yajna, Vice Chancellor's Conference, Atiruddha Mahayajna, etc. Beside this, Brother Jagdish Chandra was also blessed with an opportunity to act in several dramas in the divine presence and scripted and directed many plays which were enacted in the divine presence of our most beloved Bhagwan. On the professional front, Brother Jagdish currently works in the capacity of principal engineer at Carl Zeiss at Singapore and has 12 patents to his credit. I would now request Brother Jagdish Chandra to share his thoughts with us.
Om Shri Sairam, offering my most humble and loving salutations at the divine lotus feet of our Lord and Master. Respected elders, dear sisters and brothers, Sairam to one and all on this holy and auspicious occasion of Ganesh Chaturthi. At the outset, I would thank Brother Abhinav for the kind words of introduction. However, always I have maintained and felt that the only introduction we can try and become worthy of is call ourselves a true Swami student. These are testing times. And these are times where life has been thrown off the normal course. But in some sort, if we look back, it has helped us go back to our roots in some form or the other. At a very physical level, we have probably tried and gone back in touch with our friends, long lost friends, whom we haven't seen for quite some time. Probably at a mental level, we have become more philosophical, looking at things around and trying to understand, is life all about this? So ephemeral. And of course, at a spiritual level, we have all tried asking many deeper questions, trying to reconnect to Swami or our master in some form or the other. As a student, at one point in time, I had this wonderful conversation with our teacher, one of our professors, and he told me a beautiful thing. He said, Jagdish, do you know what? At some point in time, if I get a chance to ask Swami something, I will tell him, Swami, Just give me one birth in which you and I are alone on a planet, an absolute lonely planet where there should be no one. The condition is there should be none, because I think I haven't got enough of you. I want to be with you. Now, this was the thought that I got in my mind some time back. And I was thinking, if I had that opportunity in some form, and if I am to reconstruct a scene, probably in a play, or reconstruct something of that memory, that I get a chance to be with Swami alone in some place where there is no one else, and I sit face to face with him, what is the conversation that I'm going to have? Just think of a friend whom you're meeting after 9 years. You're seeing him after 9 years. What will you tell him? What will you ask him? Pretty much when we meet our friends after a long gap, 3 questions predominantly come to our mind. The first one being, hi, how are you nowadays? Where are you nowadays? And how's life? These are the top 3 questions. And if you very slowly try to demystify these terms, the where, the when, and the how, it correlates to the 3 most fundamental pillars of Vedantic philosophy, that is Desha, Kala, and Paristhiti: circumstance, place, and time. And when the Vedanta talks about these 3 philosophies, the place, time, and circumstance, it defines the ultimate as the one who has transcended these 3: the place, time, and circumstance. And if I'm sitting face to face with Swami, and after these 9 years, I get a chance to ask him the first question, where have you been these days? It springs forth a number of memories and a number of new thoughts that throws light on what he taught us. In fact, one thing very important for us to understand, especially from Swami's perspective, is that every word that he spoke, of course, there are no startups in spirituality. It's the same old truth which comes again and again and again. Each term at a very gross level stands for a very physical meaning. The same word has a slightly subtler meaning. It's more subtle. And then it has an altogether different esoteric connotation. And from that perspective, I'm reminded of a similar question what a devotee asked Swami. And then, sometimes the devotees ask fantastic questions, so fantastic that the Lord himself might think, "Arey, kya banaya maine? What have I made? What a creation it is." And that question that the devotee asked was, "Swami, when were you, or where were you? Sorry, where were you?" The question is about where. Where were you between the Shirdi avatar and the Satya Sai avatar? It's quite a riddlesome question in itself. Where were you between the Shirdi Sai avatar and Satya Sai avatar? But the Lord is no less. So he gave an equally riddlesome answer. He said, exactly in the same form I was when, just before I came to the rescue of Prahalada in the Prahalada Hiranyakashipu episode. And the devotee was slightly confused. As intelligent his question was, the answer was equal to that. And then Swami was kind enough to explain. He said, at that point in time, when that final moment had arrived, when he had to make his presence felt and teach Hiranyakashipu the lesson, Swami said, I established myself in every atom of that chamber. Not that he is not, but he had to give an explanation. I established myself in every atom of the chamber, waiting for the strike of Hiranyakashipu. Whichever pillar, whichever wall he would have struck with his mace, the Ugra Rupa would have come out. I would have manifested myself. I was waiting for that. In between the Shirdi and the Satya Sai avatar too, I pervaded the entire universe, the whole cosmos in its absolute minutest form. I resided, waiting for that chance when I can come out. Where are you, Swami? At a very gross level, that where represents a piece of land, probably an XY coordinate. Look at it from a pure coordinate point of view, from a real estate point of view. That small interview room, that place, how important was it in our life? Each and every one of us pined to step into the other side of the threshold, to take a closer look at that magnificent reality, which was so evasive. And at the same time, the kind of lessons that he taught using that particular place. A beautiful instance when Swami called a professor and his wife for an interview, and there was also another couple from a foreign land, and they didn't understand Indian tongue that well. And that conversation is going on. Swami is expounding on something so fantastic, so beautiful. He was going on, and with his gestures and the way he was explaining things, it was as if that the devotee was, he was waiting. Oh my God, what is Swami expounding? What is he telling? Is he revealing the secret of the universe? Is he giving Brahma Gyan? What exactly is Swami talking to those devotees? And the whole episode was a euphoric experience for him. Probably Swami would have turned and looked at him, and he would have had the ultimate experience of some sort. And he was like waiting to understand what transpired. The interview ended. Both the couples come out, and this gentleman asked the professor, "What was Swami telling you so intently? I just couldn't understand." And then the professor said, Swami was telling the BKM, the best known method of preparing a chutney that goes as an accompaniment to the idli. When you are in that place, when that ultimate Lord chooses that place, what is his dedication to that place? A wonderful lesson. At a very physical level, it's a place. At a slightly higher level, it talks about my commitment to that place. That is my dharma, or what is my duty to that place. And no one can teach that lesson better than him. Why that commitment? Why talking about that particular value? Because this is what Krishna referred to in the Bhagavad Gita, the Kshetra Kshetragya Yoga. He talks about the land is not merely a piece of land, it's an opportunity for you to exercise your duty. And how did Swami teach us to exercise our duty through the where? It was the year 2006. We were extremely blessed to be a part of the convocation drama. Swami called us for an interview. And apart from the various aspects of the drama, Swami suddenly looked at us, gave a very stern look and said one thing. On the convocation drama day, if you forget the dialogue on the stage, I will walk onto the stage then and there and slap you. That is a message. No words minced. That is your duty. For that opportunity that you have been given to be in that place, in that piece of land, what is your commitment to that piece of land? You are given an opportunity to perform. The Lord is sitting right in front of you. He is witnessing your act. And with what dedication do you perform that act? Didn't he know that the dramas were all pre-recorded? The dialogues were pre-recorded. All that you had to do was lip sync. And yet he tells us, if you miss your dialogue, I'll come and slap you. How much similar is it to our life? We are acting on a stage, he being the eternal witness to each and every one of our acts. And with what commitment are we performing each and every act, each and every opportunity that has been bestowed upon us? This is where the esoteric aspect of the word where comes into picture. For one of the Independence Day dramas, I think the first Independence Day drama that we had performed in the Divine Presence, and Swami gave us the opportunity for that. And the day morning, Swami called us for an interview, and he explained a lot of things, in which one of the things that he explained was the term Bharat. And he explained what it means to be a Bharatiya. He said the dedication to the human values, the dedication to Satya, Dharma, Shanti, Prema, and Ahimsa, the dedication to human values transmutes any piece of land to Bharat. So he transcended explaining about Bharat, a physical piece of land, to a concept. Bharat as an entity, as a conceptual entity, which is the Sanatana Sarathi in one way. And talking about that, why I'm referring to that particular episode is, in the year 2007, we'd all geared up to perform a drama for the sports meet, and the drama was Krishna Raya. The initial reaction or the initial judgment was, we were told by the authorities that Swami has said this year there should be no drama. There'll only be the sports meet. And so we didn't want to give up, because a lot of thought went into it. There was a lot of few things happening around at that point in time, and we felt that it was our responsibility to communicate to a lot of people around us that don't be blind like Dhritarashtra. With his own reality, Lord Krishna standing face to face with him, he is unable to recognize that truth. Don't be blind to that fact. So a lot of emotions went into the making of the drama, even before the drama was actually staged. And then we sent a card inside Swami's residence, and we were waiting outside for a response from Swami, and we had written the script in a paragraph or so. Swami read it, and Swami sent a message. He said, ask them to sit in the bhajan hall. I'll come and talk to them. So a few of us who represented the whole group, we went and sat there. And as Bhagwan came, he looked at us, he looked at the whole script again, he looked at the characters, and then came a very beautiful statement. He said, first you perform the drama in the Institute auditorium. If it is good, I will allow you to perform in the mandir. So very beautiful, but amazing significance of it. And this again goes back to that intent. There is content, but what is your intent behind all of this? The day your intent becomes strong and is sanctified, that piece of land where you are performing your activity becomes Prashanti Nilayam. You do it in the Institute auditorium. I will see it. And if I like it, I will allow you to perform in Prashanti Nilayam in the mandir. At every instance, Swami had actually given those wonderful opportunities to explain to us in his own way, in his own sweet way, that inner meaning of a lot of things. During the Vice Chancellor's conference, when we had an opportunity to give a talk in his presence, Swami held four of us spoke, and Swami gave us that wonderful chance of having a group photograph with him. And we stood on our haunches and we prayed to Swami. Swami, are you happy? We did all of this for you, for your happiness. And Swami said, I'm very happy. And then, as we said, Swami, it was for you, to make you happy alone. He made a very beautiful statement. He said, I know that night when you were standing under the lamppost of the music college and you were trying to prepare your talk, I was with you. When you were pacing up and down in front of those instruments, which are the music college building, you're pacing on the steps, I was with you. When you're trying to select, would Swami like this episode if I quote it in my talk, or would Swami like that episode? I was there with you. Even now, I'm with you. In such a beautiful way, the where is answered. And let us keep in mind one very important thing. The Lord is not bound in any way to prove to us that he knows everything all the time. He's not. The creation is his Leela, and the very meaning of the word Leela means that which is a pastime for him. He is not bound by desire to create. It's just out of his immense love. He just wanted to do it. It's Leela. It's a sport for him. when he lets out such nuggets, we have to be extremely cautious and attentive to grab onto each and every word of his. It's no less a Vedanta, it's no less an Upanishad in itself, just that we are aware, or just that we are alert enough to catch those words. Where are you, Swami? I shudder as this question typically almost comes to an end, and I need to ask my next question. When did you come? Any good old friend would tell, oh, he came by this flight, he came by that flight. But what will that friend tell you who has always been a witness, who's been eternal? Standing on the 20th floor of a high-rise building, probably in our offices or sitting in our cafeterias, when we peep down the windows, we see a lot of people moving around. We see people talking to people, people walking with their pets, and each in itself is a story. Probably there is somebody standing slightly above all of this over the ground level, possibly second or third floor, and he's watching all of this. He sees a lot of stories. A person standing on the 8th or ninth floor sees these two people below as well and sees all these people, and he has a few more stories to add. Just think about that one, probably me sitting in the 20th floor. How many more stories do I have? Because all these people under me, I'm a witness to them, and I am also a witness to all that is happening on the ground. At some point in time, when the thought enters my mind that there is probably someone above me too, and I am a part of his story, it sends a chill down the spine. He's not just an ordinary witness. He has been witnessing these things from ages. He has seen me go through those cycles again and again and not learning through my lessons, being foolish, being adamant. And yet again, when I go to him and say, Swami, he would respond, Prema Swarupullara. He would say, Emi Bangaru. What a storyteller God must be. For ages, he has seen the evolution of a soul. For the Krishna Rayabaram, which I had mentioned some time ago, Swami came for the rehearsal. He said, first perform. If it is nice, I will allow you to perform in the Mandiram. He came, he saw, he liked it. And we never wanted to lose even a single opportunity. We wanted Swami to christen the drama, give it a name. And I was pushed front. I was asked to go and take this chance. So as I went closer to Swami, Swami looked at me. His eyes were moist. And in Telugu, he said, Vinaledura, Duryodhanudu na maata vinaledu. He was still carrying that agony from Dwapara Yuga. It appeared so that he was telling Duryodhana didn't listen to me. How much I tried to avoid the war, but he wouldn't listen. Durmargudu Venledu, that wicked-minded fellow, didn't listen. And the war had to happen. This in itself is a testimony that how many stories he has been a witness to and what he has seen us perform over lives. In one of the beautiful Thrice sessions, Swami was talking about the Treta Yuga. And he told a very beautiful unknown episode of a frog that was on the seashore of Rameshwaram. And the Lord put his kodanda on the floor, thinking that it was the floor, but the tip of the kodanda landed on a frog. A heavy bow, extremely heavy bow. And the frog is bearing the brunt. Rama, being the all-knowing, he lifts the kodanda and asks the frog, why didn't you cry in pain? And the frog said, O Lord, when the world troubled me, I cried out to my Rama. When that very same Rama is the cause of my pain, whom will I cry out to? There was a chuckle in Swami's face again, a witness to yet another story. And he has been stringing those stories from the Treta, from the Dwapara, probably before the creation began and probably till the creation exists. And he's trying to teach us that lesson of time. It was the time in 2003. I had gone to my hometown and Raipur. And from there, I had to go to a neighboring samiti. They had requested me to give a talk. And as I was about to go, you can imagine it is the summers of India are no joke, especially the central part of India. Even the tar on the road starts melting at some point in time. At that instance, I decided that, okay, I'll take the afternoon local. It was a brainwave. I don't know how to commend myself on that, but I nevertheless took that decision. Sweltering hot, I had to take the local train to go to this place called Bhilai, which is a 45-minute journey by the local train. And I had to go there. And just before I step out of my house, my mother asks me, did you carry the water bottle? Do you have water with you? In fact, just before I began the talk, I was asked by brother Siddharth the same very question. Did you have water? And I realized my mind went back to this episode. In fact, I just turned off the video, ran and got water because I didn't want to commit the mistake the second time. So this time, the initial time when I went and then my mother told me to carry a water bottle, I felt I was a man enough to live without water. Come on, 45 minutes, of course. What will be the worst thing that will happen to me? I'll just jump out at any station and probably buy a bottle of water. There are taps enough. We can have water anywhere. No longer did I set my foot into the train. It is an EMU train, an electrical multiple unit without any, taps or anything of sort. It's just a black box, a black body radiation box rather. I was burning. 5 minutes into the journey, I'm miserable. 10 minutes into the journey, I just wanted to jump out and find water source for myself. At every station where the local train stopped, I tried to get down and search for water. Not a source, not a single tap had water. Not a single person selling bottled water. 45 minutes towards the end of the journey, I'm almost a half-dead man. And as I leapt out of the train onto the station, I find a Sevadal wearing the scarf and trying to wave at me from far, holding a jug of water. I didn't even try to ask him what was there in the jug. I just took and started drinking. As I was gulping down the water, this person was trying to tell me something. He was telling in Hindi, Swami aaye the, Swami came and Swami was telling to keep water. And I just, it was like, didn't care. Just kept drinking. And then he said, there is some more water kept for you inside. I said, fantastic, please take me. So he took me to that enclosure where that water was there in a drum, and he took some more water. I could see an ice slab floating over it, so it was cool water. And he gives the water, and then he mumbles the same thing again. He said, Swami told me this morning to keep water, cold water for you. And that shook the ground beneath my feet. I said, what are you talking? What are you telling me? He said, Bhaiya, I'm going through tough time. Things have not been going well. Business is not running good. State of affairs economically for the family is terrible, and I had almost made up my mind to end life. And at that point in time, when that thought crossed my mind, Swami appeared in the altar in front of me, and he says, Bangaru, don't do anything like that. I will take care. But that was not the end. He said, Swami, I have to do, what should I do? Swami told him, very funny, there will be a boy, Jagdish, he will be coming by the 115 local. He will get down in Bhilai. Keep some water for him. I know that your water service, basically it's the Satyasai Seva organization. They perform this water service during the months of summer in that region because it's extremely hot. And they would serve water. So the allotted time would be typically when it's really hot, around till 12. So they close it around 12. And Swami told him, why don't you extend 1.5 hours more? Because he'll come. Keep that jug of water ready. He likes cold water. So get some ice and put it in the drum. And I said, Swami, okay. It was as if like the conversation was going on and he's telling Swami, what about my problem? And then Swami says, you do one thing. You write a letter and give it to him. The moment he uttered this word, my ears stood up literally and my heart skipped a beat. In our interactions with Bhagwan, Swami never ever needed a medium. Swami never needed an intermediary between him and the devotee. And the moment this particular thing comes to me, that Swami, now I am beholden to this person in some way. At this point in time, at this juncture, when I needed water extremely badly, I have taken, but you have made it extremely clear to us that we are not the people to communicate anyone's message to you. Now what should I do? With a lot of trepidation, with a lot of thought, I prayed to myself, the Swami within me, rather not myself, the Swami within me. And I said, Swami, I'll take this letter only on one condition. I will hold it only once. And probably the reason why I'm probably taking this is that this person is already suffering economically. And if you don't take this letter from me at the first instant, I will courier it to you, or I'll post it to you. And probably he is not having the wherewithal to do that right now. This is my service to you. This is my offering unto you. So I took that letter. After the 2 months of summer vacation, when I came back to Parthi and I was sitting for darshan and Swami had come back from Vrindavan, I preserved that letter until then. And I just held the letter in such a way that just a small corner of that letter was jetting out. Means it was literally, I was putting the luggage on Swami's head. If you told him, it is your responsibility to take it from you. I'm not going to make any attempt from my side. Swami, as he walked past me, he actually crossed me. He put his hand back and took that letter by that corner. In fact, I don't even think people around me knew that I was having a letter. Swami pulled and went. I was extremely happy for two reasons. One thing is, I'm sure now his problems will be solved. And second thing is that, Swami, you saved me in some form. I don't want to do this again. I rushed to the hostel to make a call. And the convener of that particular place, the organization, I told him that, see, Swami came and accepted that person's letter, probably convey that message to him. 5 minutes later, I received a call back and I was being told that, and I was told that, his problems are all solved. He now, instead of one shop, has 6 shops. He's extremely happy and he's thanking Swami for it. The problems were solved long ago. Means he didn't have to wait for the letter. He didn't need a medium. But it is just for me to learn a very simple lesson that he has transcended time. He is the master of time. At 7 a.m. in the morning, he is telling somebody that at 1:15, there will be a man dropping down from the train half dead because he'll be thirsty. Keep water for him. If we are able to worship that master, there is nothing greater. There is nothing that we need to worry about. For he has the complete control of the reins of our life. When did you come, Swami? The second question, 2 of our conversation comes to an end. And then, how's life, Swami? How are circumstances? This is what we typically ask our friend. How's life? How's life going on? Loosely referring to a lot of circumstances around us at that point in time. The beauty of an avatar when he comes down, apart from a lot of things, he teaches us how to deal with our circumstances, how to conduct ourselves. It was the year 2001, the super specialty hospital in Whitefield was to be inaugurated. And a lot of dignitaries and a lot of eminent doctors who were also Bhagwan's devotees had come to Whitefield. And in one thrice session, Swami called all of us. We were seated. And on that day, it appeared as if Swami had a cut on his lip while shaving. He had a cut and it was seen. It was big enough to be seen from a distance. So I was sitting at some 7th or 8th and I could see it clearly. Everyone could see it, but there was some kind of a hesitation. Everyone is looking at it, but nobody knows how to bring up that topic. But somehow it came to that. And then Swami asked the doctors, "Me abhiprayamlo em cheyali?" Means in your humble opinion or in your expert opinion, no, not humble opinion, your expert opinion, what do you think I should do with this cut? So one of the doctors got up and said, "Swami, if you apply a little bit of an antiseptic cream, probably in 2 days' time, it'll heal." Then somebody came and said, "Swami, actually, turmeric is very good. It has healing properties." And somebody told Swami, drinking a lot of water will help and this and that. some antibiotics and whatnot. Each one tried to give the best suggestion as per his understanding. And then Swami says, నా అభిప్రాయంలో ఏమి చేయకుండా వదిలిస్తే తనంత తానే అది బాగుపడుతుంది. In my opinion, if you ask me, just leave it. Just let it be. It will heal on its own. The master never ever played or bent the rules of his own creation for himself. Never. In one of the letters, a beautiful letter to a devotee Swami wrote, he said, in fact, the last line of that letter, it's a sort of a postscript. Swami said, for those who are devoted to me, for those who believe in me, I take the additional step of mending the rules of creation for their sake. But that does not mean that I'm going to keep altering the rules of creation for the whole creation itself, because then there will be no point of having the creation. If I start playing and meddling with it altogether, there will be no point. But those who are devoted to me in this form, there is a reason of him taking that form. And as long as at a very physical level, we impose that faith in that form, he considers it his responsibility to bend those rules for our sake. But never, ever, even for once, for his sake. He never did that. It was an occasion of a program. Those were the days when Swami gave us an opportunity to put up what we used to call as the corridor dramas, just that small stretch in the third block, right in front of the steps, the first block, the portico, and Swami would very intently come and give us those chants. Sometimes I feel, Swami, you could have commanded the galaxy of stars, the performers, and you gave us that opportunity. But we are grateful, and we hope we made the most of each and every chance we got to go in front of him. One such occasion, we all were seated around, and one of my dear brothers, Ranganath Raju, he just couldn't have enough of it. He couldn't contain himself, and he asked Swami, Swami, leave this wheelchair and start walking. Swami said, why? Why should I stop? Why should I do this? He said, Swami, we cannot see you in pain. And Swami's reply was, I'm having no pain. I'm perfectly happy. Now you're stumped. When you give a reason and he says that reason is not a reason, you're literally stumped. And that is when he said, Swami, for our sake, for our happiness, give up the chair. We cannot see you in that chair anymore. We want to see our Swami walking. And then Swami said, for your selfish desire, do you want me to alter my plan? For your selfish desire, should I alter my plan? Should I change my plan? I'm sure you all must have seen that particular beautiful video in which Swami says that I can change the creation the way you flip the chapati on the pan. I can literally do that. But that is not my system. That is not what I do. Especially when it comes to me. Especially when it comes to my body. Never ever did he do. It taught us that in each of these circumstances, how one could conduct himself with that kind of happiness, with that kind of equanimity. In fact, somebody told very beautifully, who is the best devotee of Swami? The best devotee of Swami was Swami himself. Nobody could follow his teachings the way he did. We don't even come in a distant second. Each and every message that he gave to us, he was the one who followed it first. Time and again, morning till evening, every darshan session, perfectly on time, calling devotees for interviews, accepting their letters, reading those letters, getting up at 4 in the morning, sitting in a dingy corner with a torchlight. That was Swami. The one who can command the sun and the moon, the stars to rise and set. He sits in a remote corner with a torchlight to read the devotees' letters at 4 a.m. in the morning. But how does it influence us? That what she talks about, circumstances. One thing that we all need to remember, we need to believe that when he gives us a task, he gives us the strength to do the task as well. And that is why the beautiful statement in Bhagavad Gita, Nimitta Matram Bhava Savyasachi. Why Savyasachi? Arjuna had some 12 names. Partha, Vibhatsu, Kiriti, Phalguna, Dhananjaya, Shvetavahana. Why Savyasachi? Sabyasachi at a very physical level means ambidextrous. Arjuna had the capacity to wield the bow and arrow with equal dexterity from both the hands. What it meant was when God's command came, he didn't have to think whether to use the left hand or the right. He could literally spring into action. Sabyasachi at one level speaks about the bodily attributes or the gross attributes, but at a very subtle level, it talks about the readiness. When God commands, I shouldn't even wait and think, but spring into action, for he is the one who gives the ability. All he looks for is how ready am I? What is my intent behind it? Am I ready enough to execute that command? On one of the occasions when we had this drama on December 3rd, when a very famous dignitary from Mumbai, Ratan Tata, had come to Parthi. And on that day, Swami told something which I always treasure in my heart. He said, "You have a very wonderful voice." I got scared that he might ask me to sing a bhajan. More than anyone else, I myself wouldn't want to hear myself sing. And I was just looking at it, and then he looked at me, and that look conveyed a lot. He said, "You speak so well. You act so well. You have such a wonderful voice. Kantham chala baundiranidi. Yavalicharu," he asked. "Who gave you?" And then it took me back to something which was a long lost memory. When I was hardly 3 years old, I lost my voice. I lost my voice in a sheer accident. That was the time my father was on official duty. My mother was alone with me. There was no other one for the rescue, for I didn't speak for a day. And at that point in time, the only person whom she knew, that small photo frame of our Lord, that Swami, she just prayed, and on the second or third day, there was sort of a misty appearance, a vibhuti appearing in that whole house, and I uttered my word Amma again. That moment when Swami was telling that Kantham Chala Boundra, I broke down. And I told him, "Swami, Kantham ichindi meere, Pranam ichindi meere. You are the one who gave the voice as well as this life." And then Swami looked and asked again, "Who is your guru?" I said, "Swami, you are my guru." Swami said, "No, I am not your guru." And then Swami said, "You are mine and I am yours. Don't dilute it with a relationship. Every relation that we bring in is actually a dilution. He wants to be absolutely close to us. It is not a statement for me. It is for each and every one of us that Swami is ours and we belong to Swami. We can literally catch hold of his robe, tug his robe and ask for anything, for he is ours." Such a Swami, when he says this, when Swami Vivekananda was asked once what according to him was one of the best slokas in Bhagavad Gita, he quotes a particular shloka, "Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vekti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanmana iti mameti so Arjuna." The meaning of it is, the one who believes that even at a very physical level, by birth and action I am divine, he has achieved or he has attained liberation here and now. He needs nothing else. Such a Swami was there with each one of us. This takes us beyond the third question. How's life, Swami? Life, in some way, and as most philosophers put it, is a journey. And what is more important? Is the destination more important, or is the path, that is the journey itself, which is more important? And many a times I thought about this. The answer is always that Swami says the means and the ends are equally important. It's not the means is more important or the ends, both are equally important. But there was a small comic that I came across recently in which there is a small grasshopper sitting on top of a panda. And this is the same question the panda asks the grasshopper, which is more important, the journey or the destination? The grasshopper responds and tells neither. The company that you keep in the journey is more important. What kind of company you have. And that takes me to another episode in which we were sitting around Swami. And Swami asked one of the students, what do you want? And he said, Swami, I want moksha, I want mukti. And Swami said, not mukti bangaru, ask for bhakti. Bhakti is that companion. Mukti is definitely the destination, sadhana is the path. But the company is very important. What company am I having? How many times haven't we heard Swami telling us that beautiful shloka from Bhagavatam? Tyaja durjana samsargam bhaja sadhu samagamam kuru punya mahoratram smara nitya anityatam. Tyaja durjana samsargam bhaja sadhu samagamam. That stands for that company. Kuru punya mahoratram smara nitya anityatam. That brings us to the last phase, smara nitya anityatam. This phrase is very beautiful. It strings three very important concepts. Smara, that is memory. Nitya and anityatam. Nitya has two meanings. As I was telling this, the Sanskrit language itself is a very rich one. Very beautiful meaning. It's like an onion. The more layers you peel, the more meaning you get, and the more tears come out as well, because you are that much more in euphoria, if I may say so. Nitya, in one context, it means always. So it means Smara Nitya Anityatam means always remember that everything that you see around is ephemeral. But Nitya also stands for eternal. Smara Nitya Anityatam. Keep asking yourself, keep telling yourself the difference between the eternal and the ephemeral. And that forms the foundation of the native philosophy. Not this, not this, not this, not this, and what is left is the ultimate. In most of our interactions with Swami, we have had multiple opportunities to converse, to talk, to ask. What did we ask at most of the times? So there's a legend of a master in the Himalayas who was supposed to have lived for 2000 years, a highly adept yogi. He had the power to bestow even the highest of gifts. So instead of struggling through life of sadhana, all that one had to do was climb up that most inaccessible, dangerous mountainous path to the threshold of that cave and just ask that master, and he would give you what you wanted. But there was a catch. The catch was you could ask only one question. There was no second chance. So there was this enthusiastic sadhaka who decided to embark upon this arduous journey, and he climbs all the way up to the mountain, and he reaches the threshold of that cave, almost missing his step and losing his life multiple times. And as he comes to the threshold of that cave, what does he see? He sees an 8-year-old kid who was looking at him with equal enthusiasm, probably if not more, and he was clapping his hands and jumping in joy around him. And this man was thinking, oh my God, did I endure all of this to meet this kid? Means, what have I attained? What have I achieved? Is he the one 2000 years old? Doesn't look like that. He doesn't even look as old as I am. Probably not even half as old as me. What am I to do? So before asking anything, let me just confirm. And he says, how old are you, by the way? And that little kid assumes a very somber look and says, your one question is over. Many a times, we came to Swami. We knew very well he is the ultimate. He is the master. He is the one who has the greatest gift. But the moment we come to him, the first question comes, kahan se aaya? Kaisa hai? And we would break forth. Swami, I got down at the Bangalore airport, took a taxi. I'm staying in the North Block or this block or that block. And then probably an opportunity lost. But what to do? This opportunity comes with a dichotomy. The dichotomy is that unless and until you fall into the trap of his Maya, you cannot enjoy the physical avatar. You will not get that opportunity to converse with him. If you assume that he is Brahman, he knows everything, and he says that I know everything, and you both sit, nothing is going to ever happen. We have to taste that nectar. And how to do it? Probably through that question, probably wrapping ourselves with ignorance. And this is where I feel beholden to Maya, that illusion that gave us an opportunity to interact with one of the most beautiful forms of our life, the Satya Sai avatar. Then how? How is it that we collapse all these things? The place, time, and circumstance at this point in time collapse themselves into a small fragment of memory and reside in our subconscious. All that was real at some point in time has become a part of our memory today. That memory cannot be taken away. That memory is going to be with us forever. His message, his interactions, that beautiful smile, that curly hair, that ochre rope is going to be there in our memory forever. All that we can do probably in our limited sense is to ask him to take the reins of our lives. Just do as you wish, but just take over. Because if we decide to run the chariots with 10 cents of cognizance and 10 cents of perception and a diabolical entity like the mind ruling over them, we are sure to get distraught in some form or the other. But Lord, with you holding the reins of our hands, we cannot go wrong. We cannot go astray. At some sense, it boils down to surrender. And this was a beautiful lesson in my life for me when Swami had given us this wonderful opportunity to be with him in Chennai in the year 2007 for the Atirudra Mahayagna. I was to speak the subsequent day, and the previous night when we were having dinner with Bhagwan, Swami sent message for me. I just gone to wash my hands, and Swami asked who's going to talk the next day. And the people around told Swami it is going to be Jagdish. So Swami told call him. And then the conversation started. Swami asked, what are you going to talk on? And my topic was Guru. And I said, Swami, I'm going to speak on Swami as the Guru. And Swami said, do you understand what a Guru means? What is the significance of a Guru? And I said, Swami, what I have heard from my elders and what I have read in the books, Guru means, Gu stands for Gunatita, Ru stands for Rupa Varjita. That means the one who transcends Guna and Rupa, that is the attributes and the form, is a Guru. And Swami's next question was, have you come across anyone like that? And just folded both my hands and I said, Swami, you. And pat came Swami's reply. Swami said, Kani na kaite deha munde. But I have a body. You just said Rupa Varjita, the one who is beyond form. You're contradicting your own definition. How can I be a Guru if you're saying that the Guru is Rupa Varjita? And then I realized that the one who is beyond speech cannot be won over through words. I said, Swami, with form or without form, you are my Guru. So he said, okay, tell, what is it that you're going to talk? And I told what I was supposed to talk. And at the end of that session, Swami looked at all of us, 10 of us. And Swami said, boys, you have a lot of doubts in your mind. Ask that question which is innermost in your heart, and I will answer that today. It was not a manna from the heaven. It was literally the heaven knocking at our doors. Each one of us asked Swami that question, which was absolutely close to our heart. And when my chance came, I asked Swami, Swami, what is Sharanagati? What is surrender? And this is the beauty of the Lord. He never said, okay, you sit, I'll tell you. He asked me, what have you understood of Sharanagati till now? I said, Swami, offering my everything to God, to you, is Sharanagati. And that scene is still very clear in my mind. Swami was folding that kerchief of his. And as he was folding, he didn't even look at me. He was telling, God does not want anything from you, sir. And then Swami said, at every point in time in life, if you remember that whatever is happening is good for you, that means you have surrendered to me. At every point in time in life, if you can convince yourself that whatever is happening is good for me, is good for me, is good for me, you have surrendered to me. And I was telling you some time back that, those nuggets of wisdom, they sometimes come, and you have to be ready with that vessel to catch hold of them and treasure them for life. And that is when Swami said, this is what I told Arjuna in the battlefield. Sukha dukkha samay kritva labha labho jayo jayaha. This is exactly what I told Arjuna in the battlefield, that the one who is equanimous in happiness, in sorrow, in victory, in defeat, in profit and loss, he is the one who has surrendered to me. But Swami knew my IQ very well. So he knew that I didn't understand it yet. So he asked me, do you know how to drive a car? I said, yes, Swami, I know how to drive a car. How many gears are there in a car? I said, Swami, 4. What are those? I said, Swami, first, second, third, and fourth gear. Is there any problem when the car is running in the first gear? I said, no, Swami. And then Swami asked, is there a problem when it is running in the second gear? I said, no, Swami, probably I was getting a bit confused. I was not knowing what Swami was hinting at. And then Swami asked, then where is the problem? If there is no problem in the first, there's no problem in the second, third, or fourth, then where exactly is the problem when you sit to drive a car? I said, Swami, I don't know. Then Swami said, it is in the transition between the first to the second gear. It is the journey is not very smooth. And what do you do in a car? In a car, you press the clutch. And when you press the clutch, the transition between the first to the second gear becomes seamless. Similarly, in life, there are 4 gears: happiness, sorrow, happiness, sorrow. When life continues in happiness, is there a problem? No, there is none. When things turn the other way around and sorrow comes in, is there a problem even then? Life still continues. Whether in happiness or in sorrow, life goes on. Then where is the problem? Just as in car, the transition is the problem, in life too, the transition between happiness to sorrow is the problem. That is when we lose our equanimity. That is when we lose our balance. And what is it that you do in life? In a car, you have a clutch. In life, you have Sharanagati. The thought that whatever is happening is for my good, is good for me, is good for me, is good for me. When you have that thought in your mind, the transition from happiness to sorrow becomes smooth. But as the master is the master not merely of the theoretical concepts, but also of the practical lessons. So he wouldn't let loose of me so easily unless and until he conveyed it practically. So the next day, as luck would have it, when I was speaking, the PA system had a problem. So probably the voice was not transmitted clearly, and Swami was visibly upset about it. Now, I was shuddering because it was almost like an unwritten rule that whosoever spoke or performed that day he would sit right next to Swami, or right close to Swami, and have his dinner or lunch, whatever the next session of dining was. And I was shuddering. I didn't even want to enter that room. That was fear, because Swami was upset. Swami was extremely angry. I sat next to Swami, beneath his nose, literally under his nose, and I was sitting with my head bent down. The first chance that my glance met his, he looked at me with an angry expression and he said, just didn't speak well. Yemi baga maatladaledu. My heart sank. What to do? I was with my head down. I didn't know what to say. I was thinking, praying to the Swami within, Swami, forgive me. Every 2 minutes, Swami would look at me, Yemi baga maatladaledu, Yemi baga maatladaledu. A devotee entered at that point in time, and he was oblivious of all that was happening around. And Swami asked him, how did this boy speak? When he stages a drama, he expects all the actors to be in consonance with his script. So this person thought he was oblivious, and he wanted to praise me. He said, Swami, that point that this boy spoke was very well. Swami said, you go out of the room, first thing. So he went out, and my treatment continued rather. And then it went on and on and on. And then Swami said, Sharanagati gurinchi okka mukka maatladaledu. You didn't speak a word about Sharanagati. And that is when I understood, oh my God, Swami, you're mistaken. Sharanagati was not even my topic. My topic was Guru. Sharanagati was a personal doubt, and these two are totally different things. I think you're mixing it up at some level. And then Swami kept telling me, Yemi baga maatladledu. And now that there was a change in me now I understood that, oh, this is where Swami is probably going wrong. No, Swami, you're wrong. I think you're making a mistake. You're making a mistake. At some point in time, that inner voice, that foolish inner voice rose to such an extent that probably I was deaf to what Swami was telling. And at that moment, there was pin drop silence. Swami looked at me, I looked at Swami, and Swami said, Ye Mirani Sharanagati. What is your surrender to me? Just yesterday, it was told that whatever happens is for your own good. And you have forgotten the lesson right now. Why can't you believe that even now when Swami is pretending to be angry, it is for your own good? I broke down once again. And as I broke down, Swami looked at me, "Hey, Bangaru, kuchutino. Sit and have food." And of course, a lot of motherly love after that, took extra care to ensure that, I was not hurt and things like that. All of that. But the lesson of Sharanagati, there is this place, the time, the circumstance, the how, the when, the what of things, and then all of these collapsing into a memory. And that memory available to us, with us, all the time as this life sojourn continues. What should we do? In the Ishavasya Upanishad, there is a very beautiful mantra that says, Vayuranilam amritam athedam bhasmantam shariram Om krutosmara kritam smara krutosmara kritam smara. O mind, understand that this breath is a property of the soul. This breath is eternal, but the body, bhasmantam shariram, but this body is bound to get reduced to ashes. It's bound to reduce to ashes. So what should you do, O mind? Om kritosmara kritam smara. Think of him. Think by him. Think of him. Think by him. Think of all those wonderful memories that you had. Learn all those beautiful lessons that you got. Reinforce them within, for it is only because of his power that you are able to think. It is only because of his power that you are able to recollect. Kritosmara, kritam smara. It is only because of that entity he gives us an opportunity through this wonderful memory to go back in time, for this is possible as long as the breath is in this body. We have an opportunity to reach out to that, to every one of those memories that we spent with that enigmatic and charming, beautiful form. All that is needed in life, as the conversation of these two friends continues or comes to an end, is how am I going to part with him? And as if it is his answer, Kritosmara, Kritam Smara. Think of me, think by me. Think of me, think by me. Probably I would wish to say to him that, Lord, don't leave again. Stay with us. I would probably want to bind him so that he becomes an eternal companion in each and every fragment of my memory. And I continue to remember him the way we are doing right now. These series of talks, each one is that remember him, remember by him, remember through him, remember him. And the most beautiful part is, this is an Upanishadic injuncture which talks about the positive and the negative experiences one has had in his life. And it tells, learn from these positive experiences, reinforce in life so that you don't end up going to the negative parts again. But for us, the beautiful part is that each and every of those experiences were presided over physically by him. He is a part of those memories. It is our great good fortune to be able to live with such a sweet and loving master. I hope the conversation for each one of us with our Swami within continues. But at this juncture, I would also take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for giving me this opportunity to have that conversation with my friend, to have that conversation intimately, and make each one of us a part of that conversation. For it is only memories at this point in time, so that we can reach him. I am not speaking in the capacity of a person who is all-knowing or who is a master, who is evolved, not at all. Probably everyone else other than me. But just that this donkey was fortunate enough to be close physically and learn a few lessons. With that word and with these few thoughts, I would once again thank each one of us for giving me this opportunity to conduct my sadhana once again and to bring him into each one of our memories. Jai Sai Ram.
Ashish, I think you're on mute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, now.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry for the technical glitch. Jagdish Bhaiya, thank you so much for those beautiful messages which probably Swami wanted to give to all the listeners through you as an instrument. So I'm sure all of us are truly blessed to be on this call today. And before I go on to summarize all that you have shared with us, there are some questions which are coming on board from all the listeners, and we would request you to answer some of those questions. So the first question which has come is what you mentioned in your talk. What do you mean when you say think by me?
So it's basically it's the shloka. It is from the Ishavasya Upanishad. What it tells is, think of me, think by me means realize that when you are able to think, it is through me. It is because of my power inherent in you that you are even able to think. So it's basically you're trying to raise his thoughts to him with the cognizance, with an understanding that he is the power, he is the source. When the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita that understand that it is me, both the process, the execution, and the ultimate juncture is me. One has to be with the realization that what is happening now is because of his implicit will. So it is think of me and think by me means even when you are thinking of me, understand that it is because of me that you are able to think. It's some sort of a gratitude sentiment that comes in because of that. Yeah, that is the meaning of the shloka. Krito smara kritam smara.
Thank you, Jagdish Bhaiya. Another question which has come. Uh, I'm sure Swami has addressed this. It will be nice if you can capsulize what Bhagwan has mentioned. What are the sadhana that we have to follow daily, as mentioned by Swami?
It is a very tough question in a way that the only one who can tell what each one should do is Swami himself. But to each one thine own, as it is said. To each one has his own mental makeup. The simplest thing that Swami has instructed to each one of us on multiple occasions is help ever, hurt never. That is the simplest, as simple as it can go. And when we say help ever, hurt never, it transcends to a totally different level, that you should be a willing instrument in every activity, keeping him in mind. That is help ever. And hurt never means that you should be in a position to suppress your ego at a very fundamental level, to take cognizance of the fact that he is present in everyone. So the end of Bhagavatam, Parikshit asks Sukha, sage Sukha, what exactly is the hallmark of a true devotee? Sukha says, the one who sees God in everything and one who sees everything in God is the true devotee. So the help ever, hurt never, in a very loose sense, translates to that yeah, even the Ashtadasha Puraneshu Vyasasya Vachanadvayam Paropkarar Ya Punyaya Papaya Parapidanam. So it boils down to that. But essentially what it means is to be able to devote yourself in service to him with your ego subdued. So it's a very difficult thing, so easy to say, very difficult to follow, but this is what I have always felt very close to my heart.
Thank you, Jagdish Bhaiya. Another question which has come on board is, I'm sure you must have been asked these questions many times, this one also, and very pertinent in these times, is that how do we enjoy Swami's presence constantly? Do we need to practice any sadhana for this?
Sadhana is a very intricate topic. I think the easiest way, in fact, that question that I was referring to, when that brother asked Swami, Swami, I want mukti, Swami went on to elaborate why not mukti. He said, mukti will last with you as long as this creation exists. The moment the creation ends and I'm going to dissolve everything back to me, I will recreate you. So if you are thinking that you are going to get a permanent solution to this problem, no, that is only an intermission. Picture abhi baki hai, what they say it, right? It's going to continue now. It's not going to end so soon and so easily. But if you have bhakti, it is something which cannot be easily obliterated. Bhakti is a treasure in itself. And the easiest way to love him is to love all, serve all, what he said. Any memories, for me, what sadhana means, I'll talk about myself rather than telling what anyone else should do. When I recount these experiences, when I read Swami's literature, when I read Loving God of Kasturiji or Anyatha Sharanam Nasti or Satyasai Anandadai or Swami's discourses, the multiple things that Swami said, I try to make that conversation play in my mind. I close my eyes and I see Swami standing and Kasturiji standing and this conversation happening, that he wanted the mantra in Kashi. And Swami is telling him, how much more closer can you get than this? These are marvelous episodes. For me, it's closing my eyes and thinking, being a part of this scene as a witness. For me, that is sadhana. When I hear speakers speak about their experience to Swami, I try to put myself in that position, making myself a witness of that scene. That is sadhana for me. And I think probably this might not be possible for everyone. Very few of us, when I say us, I don't just mean the students, only a few of the devotees who came during the avatar's life sojourn, the physical sojourn, were able to see him. Not many have the privilege to recreate those memories and relive those memories in their mind. For me, sadhana boils down to that much, brother. I don't know if I answered the question, but this is what I do.
Thank you, Jagdish Bhaiya, for sharing your perspective on this. Another question, very interesting question, which has come again, had this question not come, probably I only would have asked you this question from my side. But the topic where you mentioned Sharanagati, right, and pressing the clutch of Sharanagati. So in your professional life, would you like to share any practical experience as to how in a professional life can one press that clutch of Sharanagati?
Sharanagati is a simple word, small word, the most difficult concept. Word-wise, it is very simple. It is like the E is equal to MC square in physics. So simple, everyone knows it.
True.
Nobody understands what it means, including myself. I don't know if I have been able to make Swami happy through my practice of Sharanagati. I don't know. Probably if I have been able to make him happy, I wouldn't be the same that I am today. I don't know. But in my professional life, if one may ask, there have been ups and downs, there have been times. But one thing that I have always seen or have experienced is holding on to those values that he told, holding on to something which is so very dear to him. So once when I asked Swami during that Independence Day drama, Swami was elaborating time and again, harping on one word called character. And then I said, Swami, if character is so dear to you, please bless me with good character. Swami, blessing sabke upar hai, but how much do you practice? It boils down ultimately to that particular episode as to how much we are in a position to practice. And even before, in fact, in one of my interviews, for a particular position in a company. As I was answering the questions, for me, anything makes sense only if I have a green signal from Swami in some form, in some way. Either at least he has to come in my dream and tell me, okay, go ahead, I permit you. Because my entering into the Satya Sai Institute happened through a dream. He came in my dream and said, apply, a seat is given for you. A seat is granted. So it started from there, and even now it continues. I rarely get, but when I get, he's sure to give an instruction. So I had this interview, everything was set, I liked everything, but I did not know if I have to proceed or not. And I said, Swami, give me a hint, one indication. Let your name appear on that. There was a board in that room where the interview questions were being asked. Let your name appear there. Something in some corner, even if an SAI comes, I will think it's an indication for you. Nothing happened. So I was just waiting, and there was a group which interviewed me, and all of those people dispersed after some time. And there was one gentleman who came back. He sat with me, and the first question he asks in that personal conversation is, so, how was your experience with Baba? I'm also Swami's devotee. So this is how it translates to some extent. But there have been occasions where you are put to the edge of a precipice, and somebody comes and tells you that, these are important meetings. You cannot skip a drink. You probably have to drink because it will be an insult to the host who's organizing it. And I'm staring at that, and the boss comes and pours a few drops into my glass, and I'm wonderstruck. How am I going to? I was sure I'm not going to drink. There's definitely no second. But how is it? How is the the means going to meet the ends is the question now. For some reason, all people in the team and around me knew that I don't drink and I don't eat non-veg. So they know that for a fact. Immediately, my glass went around the table. Everyone took from my glass and returned the empty glass on my table. There was nothing in my glass. No, Jagdish, we know that you don't drink. But any specific reason that you don't drink? And now, I couldn't give a Samarpan session or another session there to that guy. So all that I told him was that I have promised my mother that I will follow a few things. One of them is this, that I will never touch it. Oh, fantastic. You're so they were asking me, is it religious or is it sentimental? And I didn't know how to communicate. It was both, or probably beyond both of them. And then I said, I don't. And he has come to rescue in some form or the other every single time. There is no doubt about it. It has been, if at all there has been a delay, if at all there has been a miscommunication, it was possibly that I was not ready. But he was always ready. He was always there waiting for me. Yeah.
Wow, that was so beautiful. I think it just explains that we're not supposed to use our mind and ask, how are you going to do it, Swami?
Absolutely.
And Swami, just take care.
The Sabyasachi thing stands for that. When you're ambidextrous, you don't need to think whether you want to use the left or the right hand. You just do it. So that is the lesson for me from Sabyasachi. That I just have to use my mind. Just do it. Yeah, follow him.
So beautiful. Thank you so much, Jagdish Bhaiya. Another very pertinent question in these times. We have been seeing lot of youth joining the Sai mission, lot of devotees coming to Puttaparthi after Swami has left physical form, but still that power, that aura draws people. But then many a time, so one of our devotees have asked this question on board. Many a time people ask that I have never seen Swami physically. So how do I experience Swami? So any of your experience of Swami's omnipresence after Bhagwan's Mahasamadhi?
I'll share a small episode. I normally try avoiding sharing these kind of personal experiences, but this was a time when I was going through a bit of a dip in my life, in a way that professionally, and there were some things that were bothering me, and I didn't know how to invoke Swami. It was so easy. That is where that physical form becomes so important. You just run to mandir. You just see him, and your problems are literally obliterated. They just get sublimated looking at him, and you're missing that. So I was in a particular house, in somebody's house, and in that house there was a small kid, barely 2.5 years old. how do I invoke Swami? So I went back to that day in Kodaikanal when I got a chance to press Swami's feet when I was sitting at his lotus feet. So each one got the chance to do the Padaseva, what they call it. And we would press Swami's feet. This little boy, I thought, Swami, I will assume that it is you who is sitting and let me press your feet. I started holding that feet. I don't know what the boy felt. He would have seen me, because probably would have thought this guy has gone nuts or something like that. But I kept pressing his feet and kept telling, Swami, Swami, Swami. And I just was transporting myself to that particular instant in time when I was literally holding Swami's feet, and I was trying to imagine that is Swami's feet I'm holding. That day in Kodaikanal, when that episode happened, Swami was talking on some topic. He was talking to all of us, telling something. And in between, he looked at me and he said, if your heart is pure, everything will be fine. So he told me, it was not a statement for me. He was answering somebody, but as he looked at me, the last statement he said was, if your heart is pure, everything will be fine. And then he, sometimes he just looks, kada, he will tell. A beautiful nod of the head, and he said, as if he's asking for a confirmation. And I just joined my hands in namaskar. This day, it's much later, after Bhagavan left his physical form, as I'm pressing this little boy's legs. He taps my head. I look at him. He says, if your heart is pure, everything will be fine. Same sentence. That actually is, just imagine what I went through at that point in time. That same sentence, the same feeling with which I got the same response. It was about being in a position to invoke that Swami. And that is when I probably came into consonance with the concept of seva. It's the crux of the Satyasai Seva organization itself is the term seva. What is seva? We keep telling Manav Seva, Hi Madhav Seva. That moment when I assume that the person sitting in front of me doesn't need my service. I am doing the service not because he's going to get benefited, but I need to communicate with my Lord. I need him more than he needs me. And when I bend my head down and get down to service, that little kid never needed me to go and press his feet. He never asked for it. I wanted to communicate with my Swami. And when I was able to make this service, this small act, as a medium to that, he presented himself instantly. That was a lesson for me. That defined the meaning of service for me. As long as I'm thinking that that person needs my help, no, it's not service at all. The day when I need him, when I need to communicate with my Lord and I choose service as a medium, that is when it becomes a totally different thing. And imagine 7 years after that, this boy utters, 2.5 years old kid, doesn't have a clue, just looks at me and says, if your heart is pure, everything will be fine. So this was an exhilarating experience for me personally.
Wow. Thank you, Jagdish Bhaiya. I think we'll take one more last question. If it's okay with you, Jagdish Bhaiya.
Absolutely. I only hope that I don't know how far I'm able to do justice to these questions. I'm myself an ignorant guy, but I'll just try my best to answer the limited capacity that I have.
Sure. So we'll take one more question which has come, and they ask, what should I practice to achieve equanimity?
Oh my God.
You were trying to address this in your experience sharing also today, but if you can refocus any practical practices, which you would recommend, what you have read of Swami as to how to practice equanimity.
I will tell
Again, easier said than done.
Absolutely. And I will tell the exact same thing that Swami said. If you can tell yourself that at every point in time, at every instance in life, that whatever is happening is good for me, if I'm able to tell that is being equanimous. That is the best way to practice equanimity, because he takes us through those ups and downs in life. And probably at some point in time, we'd understand that it is not he who is subjecting us to all of that. It is we ourselves. have subjected ourselves to all of this, and he's just the witness. We need that strength, and of course, there is nothing more powerful than a prayer. I have seen amazing instances where prayers have been answered. And this is a very personal observation in Trai. When Swami asked one of the teachers to give a talk, and the teacher gave a beautiful talk on the concept of prayer. And Swami said, life is fragile, handle with prayer. As we tell, this is a fragile object, handle with care. And Swami said, life is fragile, handle with prayer. So prayer and the concept of whatever is happening is good for me. See, we go through ups and downs, we have to turn to Swami and pray to him. There is no second to that. And there's nothing wrong about it. If not him, whom else will we ask? And it is our right to ask him he's ours at the end of the day. It's our not only a right, it's a duty and responsibility to ask as well, in some sense. But yes, life is fragile, handle with prayer would be something that I have heard from him directly. So it means a lot to me. I have cried and cribbed like anything at many instances. So there's nothing to feel shy. I'm not somebody who's like treats happiness and sorrow like, no. I'm equally miserable when I'm in going through a bad patch. But I ensure that I make him too equally miserable by constantly nagging him with my prayers. So I do that as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jagdish Bhaiya. I think it was a very heart-to-heart talk, and I'm sure all Bhagwan's devotees on this call today have got their own message in whichever form that Bhagwan wanted to send out to them. Just for benefit of everyone, I would take this opportunity to summarize what you have spoken, so that some of those points which probably I could capture, I would like to put it across. I'm sorry if I miss out on anything. So truly, as you said in one of the places, nuggets of wisdom, what we have heard for Swami. Today, what we heard from you again were like nuggets of wisdom, which were coming as Bhagwan's message. And so beautifully you knitted that friend relation, like Swami has always said, I'm your friend, treat me as your friend. So how beautifully when you started as to when you ask a friend where, how, and when. And each of them has its own meaning when you relate it to Swami. And there is so much to grasp and understand when you actually address this question to Swami, as to Swami, where did you come from, when did you come, and how are you? And how beautifully you said that Swami is nothing but our own reflection. Then how beautifully you brought out the dichotomy which we always face: what is important, the means or the end, the journey or the destination. Ultimately, what is important is the company. And what Swami has said, that bhakti is what needs to be our company, because ultimately that is what is going to lead our journey to our final destination. Which is again a beautiful message which probably Swami sent to us, that in today's time, in this corona period, when all of us are locked down, shut down at home, we can't literally meet people, but then the only company which remains with us is our bhakti to Bhagwan. And that is, he is our only friend, who is always there, whether lockdown or no lockdown. And then, of course, the beautiful concept of faith and surrender. Again, it is to each one to his own. How we understand Swami, how we put our faith in Swami, and how we surrender ourselves to Swami. It's all our inspiration, what we receive from Swami. But then these two words are so important in our life to always keep in our mind, that faith and surrender has to be of utmost priority. And this comes only by being aware, as you highlighted, of being aware that whatever we are doing, we are offering it to Swami. Whatever we are doing, Swami is always with us. So these were beautiful things. And then, of course, last, what you mentioned again, I think you reiterated it in some of these questions which are asked, as to how we surrender to Bhagwan, and the transition from gear 1 to gear 2, the happiness, sorrow. Again, very easy. It's easier said than practice, but possibly, Swami, probably that's why Swami made you reiterate again on this call, because it needs to be hammered to all of us again, that let's not forget that Swami is there. Happiness will come, sorrow will go, happiness will again come, but Swami is always there. And he is the only one on whom we have to fall back upon. So I'm sure there would be many more messages which many other devotees would have captured. These are few which I could capture. Jagdish Bhaiya, thank you so much. On behalf of the whole Samarpan team, I thank Bhagwan to having allowed you to come and share your experiences with all of us. So a big gratitude to Swami, a big gratitude to you, and also a big gratitude to all the devotees who joined on this platform and asked these questions at the end of the call. And again, nevertheless, we should not forget a big gratitude to the Zoom platform, which has allowed all the devotees to come together even in this lockdown period and be able to hear about Swami through this beautiful platform. With this, we thank Swami and we pray to Swami for many, many more such sessions. Thank you, Bhaiya. Sai Ram. I request Jay Shankar Bhaiya to take it forward from here.
I think before we end, we are very, very blessed to have our All India President Shri Nimish Pandya on the call, and may I request to he can spend and share some few thoughts before we end the session. Nimish uncle, over to you.
Sai Ram, everyone. Sai Ram, Jagdish. I don't know. I've never had the privilege of meeting you for a long time. I don't know whether I've ever met you, but I don't want to spoil the aura that you've created. I just want to tell you that even an old hag like me today is rejuvenated listening to you. And I'm so impressed with what you told me. I mean, it's a personal benefit that Kamla and I both have been listening to you and really drawn great inspiration. And more so, I have read your bio, and the kind of help that you can give the organization for the Vedic movement is something which I really want to be in touch with you, seek your guidance, and see that we carry this further in a big, big way. Thank you very much. That's all I want to tell you, that I'm really, you brought tears in our eyes today.
You have been one of the inspirations for us right from those Ashadi days when we used to hear your booming voice in the dramas. You have been an inspiration for us, for each one of us, and we looked up to you, and we are even now hearing amazing stories and beholden to you for the kind of leadership that you're providing the organization. We are more that I learned from you. There's nothing, you only humbled me, but this also means that I have so much to fall at your feet and learn from you. Thank you so much.
Today you are my inspiration. I must confess. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We will end today's session with Samastaloka. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय। साई राम।